Welcome back, guys, to Athletistry Ballet Evolution. My name is Shane Worthner. I'm your host, and today we are going to be talking about some kind of deep stuff. So the other day, I posted a quote. Now, let me just pull this up so that I can read it to you guys, because I think it's something that I have been thinking about for a long time. It's something that I think is it's pretty powerful as an idea. And obviously, the people that have been following me have thought so too, because it's been shared a countless number of times. It's had tens of thousands of likes, and it just keeps getting sent out there to the metasphere, if you will. But I think it's something that I want to dive deeper into, and I want to talk about, because I find that it is powerful in its intention and powerful in the way that we as artists can utilize it to enhance our practice as dancers. So here's what I wrote. Dance is incredibly powerful because it is the physical representation of music. Music and its harmonies are the melodic representation of the universe. When you dance, you're expressing your connection to reality on the deepest level possible. So that was the quote. That was what I put out on Instagram about a week and a half ago. And I want to dive into it. I want to talk about it, and I want to explain my reasoning, because it has been a powerful quote. It's been a powerful point of context and connection for a lot of people around the world now, and I want to dive deeper on it. So I remember I was listening to another podcast. I can't remember which one it was. But somebody was saying basically that music and the power of music, and how music is basically this resonant force through the universe. And if we take the harmonies and the melodic structure of music, we're basically actually experiencing the universe on an auditory and often cellular level. That music is entering into our bodies through our ears and through its vibrations and its frequencies, and it's changing us as in our existence. And when we think about dance, and we think about the physicality of dance and what that is, so often dance is going to be connected to music. Now, this is where the post got interesting, because a lot of people have come back and they've commented on it in some way or another, where they've said, I often enjoy dancing without music, or so often dance is done with no music at all. And I think, yes, okay, in the conception of what music is, and as far as having a melodic structure and chords and phrases and different layers of rhythms and different layers of harmonies, of course, there are times when we will be dancing and there won't be any of that. In fact, sometimes we will be dancing in what is perceived silence. But I always think back to this scene in the movie Fame, where they start dancing, and it's just like the drop of water or something. And then you start to hear like the tap of the shoes, and then suddenly, and like it builds and it builds and it builds until it is all of these different rhythms and sounds coming together to create this musical structure, and everybody's dancing to it. And it starts with one person. It just expands to hundreds of people. And I think of that and I think, okay, well, music obviously is not just then what is composed. It's not just then what is coming from someone's ideas of musical structure and they're putting it out there for us to listen to. It's all around us all the time. And for those of us that are in tuned to that and are listening to that and are seeking that connection with our surroundings, with our environment, we're going to be finding different harmonic structures within that. Now, we can take this out and look more at it from a metaphysical perspective. We can look at it from a theoretical perspective. There's people out there who are doing work in theoretical physics and theory of everything, who are looking at the structure of hyperstrings and that being the underlying fabric of the universe, and those strings vibrating in existence, and those vibrations obviously creating different frequencies. So if we're thinking about frequency and wavelengths and all of that stuff, now this is getting a little bit more philosophical. We start to think, okay, well, if those things are happening throughout our environment, whether it be the vibration of the space around us, or the air that's moving around us, or the sound of the birds outside, or the sound of our feet on the floor, even the rhythm of our heart beating within our chest, All of these are elements of what could become a musical structure if they were integrated together. And so regardless of whether you are listening to an actual fully composed, fully compiled piece of music, or if we just have the pieces around us and we take those pieces and we integrate them ourselves and we listen and we hear something within our minds, the sound, the music that we're dancing to does not have to be audible to everybody. In many ways, what we are creating through our movement is our own music. And that physical representation of the music is what dance is. And the music doesn't have to be heard. It just has to be understood by the person who is dancing to it. And so when we dance, when we take our physical movement capacity and we take that structure of the sounds that we're hearing, the rhythms that may be beating within our head, even the music that we might be listening to, and we express that music through our physical capacity to move, and we do that in a way that is transcendent of just walking down the street or sitting on the couch or clapping our hands on our knees, suddenly we are expressing something that is much more impactful than just a verbal communication. And so this then took me to another place in my thought processes around language and how 80% of what we communicate as human beings is through body language. It's not even through spoken verbal language. Yes, we can enhance our body language with our linguistic capabilities, but the actual ability for us to communicate is coming from something so much deeper and so much more profound. And that's coming from an ancestral evolutionary ability to express our emotions, to express our innermost desires, thoughts, feelings, hopes, dreams, and goals through physical representation. I mean, think about any time when you walk into a room and you can see the people around you and you can watch the way that they're holding their posture, the way that they smile or frown at your appearance. You instantly know how people are feeling. You instantly know how people are receiving you. And that power, that energy is passed between us as humans. And it's a connection. It's something that we can understand very rapidly. Even in a way of when I remember walking onto a stage as a professional dancer, I could feel the energy of the audience. I could feel whether the people in the audience were receptive to the performance, whether they enjoyed it, whether they were upset about it, whether they were feeling shut off by it. I could feel if they were unhappy with their day. I could feel if they didn't want to be there or if they did. It was very evident, that strength of energy, because imagine you're standing on a stage where everyone can see you, but you can't see them because they're in darkness. And all that emanates between you is this vibration, this force of feeling between you and the people around you. And that pushes you. It creates pressure against you because you're one against thousands, if not tens of thousands, depending on the size of the audience that you're performing to. And so when you walk onto that stage, there's this pressure that comes against you. And you have to have such an immeasurable force as a performing artist to be able to step into that place and take on that energy and either rise above it, utilize it, embrace it, push back to it. There are things that you're going to have to do in order to be able to recommunicate with the people who are there watching you. And that is part of the vibration. That is part of the language of dance in that when we move, we are, of course, not speaking verbal words, but we are communicating in a nonverbal way the expression of whatever music we're listening to, whatever choreographer has decided that we're going to be performing. And so I remember getting a question on the post from somebody saying, do you prefer choreographed dance or freestyle? And I kind of had to think about it for a bit, because for me, a good portion of my career was done to choreographed dance, in the sense that, you know, in a company, when a choreographer comes in, they're setting a specific series of steps to tell a specific story. That story may or may not resonate with you, which then creates discord or dichotomy in yourself of like, okay, well, I have to tell this story, but how do I tell the story if I don't, agree with it from a value perspective? All of that is part of being an artist. And while that you can learn a lot about yourself in going through that process of developing a role and developing movement the way that a choreographer would like you to do it, you also, I think, as a dancer, need to go through the process of expressing your own movement, because that's what is most powerful at the end of the day. You can do someone else's movement, you can do what other people ask of you, but the way that you interpret that movement, or the way that you create your own style of developing your own dance, is actually what is the most authentic, individual, expressive type of process that you can experience as a dancer. And so this all leads me to the maybe, let's say, 5 or so examples that I can think of in my life where I had a performance that just transcended everything, in the sense that I reached that state of flow where, it's like everything else disappeared, almost like I rose outside of myself and was watching myself perform. I was fully embracing what I was doing in that moment. Like I was actually in sync with the vibrations of the universe around me. And if you haven't experienced that, keep going, guys, because it's quite an incredible experience to be able to take on. So, looking at those performances, looking at those experiences that I've had, I think that is, to me, the proof that when you dance at such a authentic level, that you are able to connect with the resonance or the frequency or the vibration, whatever terminology you want to use to understand this. When you can connect with that at the deepest level, then it's almost like you are now integrated into the universal force that unites us all. And it's in those moments that we can connect with that we understand why people come to watch performance, why dance is so powerful, why music is so powerful, because it is able to create an emotional response, which is the deepest and most impactful way of communicating. Which takes me to another post that I did where I said that ballet and really all dance is not just a series of steps or tricks to be performed, like a circus. It's deeper than that. It's emotional. It has a deep communicative responsibility in the way that it's presented, because, and I will often say this to students when I will teach them. When was the last time that you came out of a performance and the quality of the performance was dependent on how many pirouettes the dancer on stage did, or what kind of 540 they did at the end of their variation, or whether they stuck their fouettes at the end of their coda? Those things obviously are technically important, but that's not why we go to watch dance. We go to watch dance to connect physically on a deep level, to understand the emotional desires of humanity, to understand the emotional desires then of the music that is being portrayed, to then fully understand the emotional desires of the universe and what frequency the universe wants us to be operating on for optimal functioning, for optimal life, for optimal development of energy and productivity and expression as artists and as human beings. And so I think, yes, we do need to have things that draw us in, extrinsic things, extrinsic fun tricks and pirouettes, and all of that stuff is important, because those are the showstoppers. Those are the things that make us awe-inspired. They pause disbelief. They suspend our ability to think, oh, well, is this real, or is this something that is transcendent of reality? And then, because we've then been drawn in by that fantastic feat of physical expression, then we are able to go even further, because now we've suspended any misconceptions we may have about, whether it's a performance or reality, and it's drawing us into that performance to be a part of the emotional expression. And where I find so many performances these days are lacking is that we get that suspense of disbelief, but then we don't go any further. We don't go beyond the trick. We don't go beyond the many pirouettes. We don't go beyond the 540s. We see something that is physically incredible, and then the emotionally incredible expression isn't there to fulfill our deeper desires as artists, as humans, and as beings of the universe. So while this podcast obviously is very deep, it's my philosophical meanderings through art and the understanding of artistic expression through movement, whether dance is a language, whether dance is just a physical movement style. I think it goes beyond sport. Obviously, we look at the things that are typically considered sport, and while there is an emotional and visceral connection to the competition, to the winning, to the people that we support in that sport, it's not going to touch us on a level that witnessing something like Romeo and Juliet might, or Manon, or Meyerling, that have incredibly deep emotional expressions. And so it transcends sport. It moves just beyond the physical discipline of improving the body and improving your physicality. It takes then that physicality, it takes that movement, it takes that physical challenge, and adds in a level of connection that cannot be matched by any sport. It creates a series of physical expressions that allow us to communicate with another human being deeper than any competition would. And so that is why art is so important. That is why dance is so important. That is why we must continue to support and develop and work with the next generation of artists to help them to understand that we are not just athletes, that we are not just artists, that we are vehicles for expression of the harmonic resonance of the universe. So go out there, guys, take this into your dance class, utilize it, connect with your emotions, connect with your ability to communicate, not just physically, not just emotionally, but on a transcendent, deeper, more harmonic level. And you will find that your dance practice becomes the key to the evolution of your mind, your body, and your soul. Thanks for listening, guys, and joining me on this little journey through my mind and my philosophy of dance. Until next time, see you later.